Welcome to the UND Intramural Basketball Online Captain's PowerPoint. The Assistant Director of Wellness Programs is Patrick Marco, and the Intramural Program Manager for Basketball is Kevin Gola. All games will be played at the UND Wellness Center. Here are the starting and ending dates of the regular season league and the playoff season for this. As the captain, you serve as the liaison between the intramural program and your team. Make sure you are familiar with all sport rules and intramural policies. Make sure that each of your players are eligible to participate and let them know of scheduled game times. Let us know if you're unable to make it and regularly check your email for updates from the intramural staff. Before their first contest, each one of your players must be registered and join your team's roster on INTRAMURAL, where you will be able to find all schedules, rules, and free agent listings. In order to be eligible, all players must be a UND student or a faculty or staff member with a Wellness Center membership, be on your INLeague's team roster, and have their UND ID on them. Teams may have only 2 sport club members or former college varsity athletes competing in similar or related sports, and or pro or semi-pro athletes that haven't competed at that level in the past 2 years. Players can be added to the roster at any time before playoffs, but they can only play for one team. Ineligible players caught will subject themselves and their team to penalties outlined in the Intramural Handbook. Each team in every game will be rated on a 1 to 4 point scale for their sportsmanship before, during, and after a contest. If a player is ejected from a contest, that player will be suspended from their next game. A forfeit occurs when a team has no players on site at game time. That team will then be ineligible for playoffs, and if they receive 2 forfeits, the team will be dropped from the league. A default occurs when a team has players present, but the minimum number has not yet been met. Or if the captain notifies the intramural office that they will not be attending a game at least 6 hours in advance. If they receive 2 defaults, the team will be ineligible for playoffs, and if they receive 3 defaults, they will be dropped from the league. To compete in playoffs, teams must have won at least 2 games, a cumulative sportsmanship rating of 3 or higher, no forfeits, and no more than 1 default. Only players that participated in the regular season can participate in playoffs, and playoff scheduling may be different than regular season scheduling. No individual is allowed to be in possession or under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Any player caught will be immediately removed, suspended from their next game, and reported to UND safety. Team names must be appropriate. If deemed inappropriate by intramural staff, they will be immediately changed. The intramural staff is first aid and CPR certified and will provide initial emergency care to any injured parties. Participation is voluntary. Any bleeding players must immediately leave the game area and cannot return until the wound is covered, the bleeding has stopped, and any blood-stained clothing has been removed. Report all injuries to the intramural staff. No boots or open-toed footwear are allowed, and all jewelry must be removed for all intramural contests. Teams may only have between 4 and 5 players on the court at all times. For co-ed, there must always be an equal or greater number of females to males and at least 1 male and 1 female on the court at all times. Games consist of 2 20-minute halves with a continuous clock until the last 2 minutes of each half. Teams have 2 1-minute timeouts per half. If a team is ahead by 30 points at the last 5 minutes of the game, that team will be declared the winner. If the game is still tied at the end of the second half, a 2-minute overtime period will commence. The clock will run continuously until the last minute, and if the score is still tied at the end of overtime, during the regular season the game will be a tie. During playoffs, another overtime period will commence. Teams have 1 1-minute timeout per overtime period, and possession will alternate. No player is allowed to enter the lane until the ball is released during free throws, and a bonus will be rewarded on the 7th team foul and double bonus on the 10th. Dunking is allowed during games as long as the player does not hang on the rim. Doing so will negate any points accumulated, and the player will receive a technical foul. There is also absolutely no dunking during warm-ups, halftime, or after the game. Doing so will also result in a technical foul. Technical fouls result in 2 free throws, and if a player receives 2 technical fouls, that player will be removed from the contest and must meet with the coordinator of rec sports for reinstatement. After your 3rd technical foul, the player will be suspended for the remainder of the season. All technical fouls are cumulative and counted as team fouls and personal fouls, as well as player control fouls. Any team that receives 3 technical fouls in one game will forfeit that game. This video is only a small overview of the rules. Please read and be familiar with all sport rules and the Intramural Handbook. Ignorance of the rules is not an excuse, and remember all official calls are final. Like the Wellness Center Facebook page for all Wellness Center event updates at facebook.com/UNDWellness. For a full list of intramural sports, visit IMLeagues.com/UND. Thanks for watching. If you have any further questions, please visit UND.com/intramurals.